is incredible. It's how it feels at the top. Got no incentive to stop. Payment is only the rock. So I take water and soda, then hit them with lyrics and mix them up all in the pot. While in the jungle, they won't be tame. Keep them alive but without a brain. They want me broke with a lot of fame. Smiling but he in a lot of pain. Till he tap out like a lot of names. You gotta give me what's owed. Taking control. No, this is not a game. No.
It's time now for another edition of Inside Notre Dame Men's Basketball, presented by TireRack.com. I'm your host, Tony Simeone, joined as always by the head coach, Mike Brey. Coach, this week, 2 more wins, one on the road against Georgia Tech, the one at home against Clemson. You've now won 6 in a row. This team is really cooking right now.
We are starting to find ourselves, Tony. I'm very excited about who we can become. Our leadership has been fabulous, but to get one in a close encounter in Atlanta and come home and thoroughly outplay Clemson, I'm proud of our group, and we want to keep it going.
I want to ask you about the Clemson game. As you said, a thorough performance on both sides of the floor. You had the crowd really engaged. You had a great environment at Purcell Pavilion. You're perfect at home. What's it mean to protect home court the way you guys did?
I think it's going to be huge for us moving forward. I like our confidence and our belief in our home court. There's no question. Our students being back and being in that end zone like they were for the Kentucky game really gave us energy.
Coach, appreciate it. When we come back, we'll break down both games from this past week, the one at Georgia Tech and the game at home against Clemson, on this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Men's Basketball, presented by TireRack.com. Welcome back to Inside Notre Dame Men's Basketball, presented by TireRack.com. Tony Simeone with the head coach, Mike Brey. Coach, let's start with the game against Georgia Tech on the road. You'd picked up a big first road win of the year in conference against Pitt. This seemed like a chance to validate that with a win in Atlanta. Going into the game, what was the mindset as you approached that second road win?
Well, the one thing I know about playing down there, they've all been dogfights, and they've all gone to the buzzer, and we haven't won many of them. And we didn't get off to a very good start, but we kind of hung in there. And eventually our offense got in gear in the second half.
You mentioned the offense figuring it out in the second half and how it wasn't a great start. One guy that I thought kept you afloat was Paul Atkinson Jr. I mean, he was 8 for his first 8 from the floor. He just seems to be so consistent. And now that he's about 2 months into this season, he's really gotten his feet under him at the ACC level. What did he give you in that game?
Well, he has, Tony. I think he's really feeling it. And we brought him off the bench to kind of wake him up a little bit. I thought he wasn't as good the 2 previous games, but he came off the bench with great energy. And I think he's now adjusted to the energy needed to be playing in the ACC and the bodies that he's playing against. But he kept us alive scoring-wise in the first half.
The other guy that kept you alive, too, was Blake Wesley. Gave you 22 points in the game. We'll talk about his big 3 towards the end. But, man, I think back to Illinois, too, when he had 24 on the road. When you have a freshman, you don't always know how they're going to adjust to the road environments at this level. He looks really comfortable when you guys are on the road.
I've been really pleased with his maturity for a freshman, and now people are really coming after him. As you've heard me say, I think having a bunch of big brothers, seniors, and older guys as teammates, especially Prentice Hub, helps him. But there's a poise about him and a belief that's really cool to see for a young guy.
We've talked about a lot of the big shots. We'll talk about Blake's in a moment, but I feel like your defense late in games too. Whenever you guys need a stop, as far as I can tell, you've gotten it almost every time this year. On that next possession, you play about 25 seconds of great defense when they're winding the clock and you get the ball back. How big was your defense late in the game?
I thought it was great, and I think we've made great strides defensively. You know, it's a group now that is really connected defensively, whether we're playing man or whether we're in our zone. But it's a group that understands how to help each other and rotate. And you're right, we've gotten big stops at key times.
So it's 61-59, less than a minute left here. I gotta say, I watched the film. You can tell me if there's something more complex that I'm missing. This seemed pretty simple. Prentice Hub just kind of probed, went to the freshman, and Blake Wesley did not hesitate, just rose up and stuck the 3. What'd that tell you?
You know, it kind of tells you the confidence that he has. And he is just really mature beyond his years in belief that he's going to make a big shot, make a big play. Obviously, we remember the Kentucky shot after having the disappointment of turning it over the possession before. There's a psyche there that's mentally tough already for a young guy. And the other neat thing about it, different guys have made big plays for us throughout this year.
Okay, in that tone, we won't even talk about the end of regulation. We won't let it linger. Go to overtime. It's 64-64. And again, Prentice Hub, who had a quiet first half a couple times this year, hasn't had it going in the first half. Man, he steps up and hits that huge 3 from the corner for you.
You know, he is a big shot maker down the stretch. You know, you can throw out his percentage throughout the game or how he's playing, But when there's a key shot to be made, he's got the ability to do it. And I think he loves playing off Blake Wesley, as many of them do, because Blake gets you easier shots once he gets to the lane.
You get the win, of course. It's very exciting in the locker room. You said keep finding ways. But what do you think that road win did for your team's psyche going forward?
I just think, again, another confidence builder for us. You know, the vibe around our group has grown so much to a more poised, a more believe in ourselves kind of thing, and really believe in close games we're going to get over the hump. I think it's 80% mental, and I'm going to keep convincing them that we win close games.
Coach, thanks. When we come back, we'll look at Notre Dame's win over Clemson on this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Men's Basketball, presented by TireRack.com. Welcome back to Inside Notre Dame Men's Basketball, presented by TireRack.com. It's now time to look at this week's game against Clemson, Coach. Coming into this game, Clemson really highly touted three-point shooting team, okay? They shoot it at 41% coming in. That's the third best number in the entire country. So what was your focus as a coaching staff and team to prepare for this kind of attack from them?
Guard the arc, chase them off the arc, switch out on stuff, do whatever you need to do to make them more of a two-point shooting team. One of the things that's really improved during this win streak is our three-point field goal percentage defense. We were not very good early in the year. It's come down, and we've been more aware of shooters and scouting report and chasing those people off the arc.
Let's talk about the start of the game. You guys went 6 for your first 6 from the floor. We talked before the game. I said, hey, what's one of the things you want to improve upon while you're in this win streak? And you said, I'd like to get off to better starts. Could you have gotten off to a better start?
No, we couldn't have. And you know what? I think a big part of that was our student section and our crowd. You know, I think our kids seeing their classmates up there rocking and ready to go really juices us up. But we were efficient offensively. We got great looks. And our zone helped us a little bit offensively. Sometimes when we go zone, it helps us offensively.
Talk to me a little bit more about the zone, because you've used it now, it seems like more and more as the season goes along. Your team seems to really thrive in it. And for Clemson, you know, you say a great three-point shooting team, usually a zone can be a little bit risky, but it worked against them.
And we played it wide, whereas against Pittsburgh, who didn't shoot it as well, you could play it tighter. And so it morphs into a different look given how good a shooting team you're playing against. Clemson, you fear that three-point shot, but I thought we were out and we had them pushed out shooting deeper ones.
Let's talk about Dane Goodwin, who we have a reason to talk about nearly every game. He's been in double figures every game this year. 15 points in the first half. You mentioned how efficient your offense was. He was 8 of 10 for the game, didn't miss a three. Specifically at home, he's just giving you so much. What'd you like from him against Clemson?
You know, he's become an assassin. The man is a killer. And, you know, he has been this way really since our June practices. He has been completely locked in. I think he's an ACC Player of the Year candidate. He's delivering on a high note, and he's got teammates that know we better get him touches and find him. We post him up, we put him all over the place.
I want to bring up one guy that maybe hasn't gotten a lot of attention this year because he hasn't been scoring a ton. That's Trey Wirtz. He hit 2 baskets for you that came really deep in the shot clock. I thought kind of backbreakers, 1 in each half for a Clemson team that was trying to make that run. And I also just get the sense like when he's on the floor, he's a really calming presence for you.
He is, and he needed a game like that, and we needed him to have a game like that. He is a key guy in our rotation of those 7 guys, and I thought he was confident. He made some shots. He's a great passer. He's gotten to be a better defender and rebounder, but he really knows our system and knows how to play. And you look at him, he's close to being a 1,000-point scorer. The guy can score, so we want him to shoot it when he gets great looks.
Last guy I want to ask about is Blake Wesley, of course, so much excitement, but this was another game where slow start, 4 points, and then you look up at the end, he had 20 points, somehow just fills the stat sheet every game. He does it so, sometimes even quietly, even though he makes the big highlight plays. What impressed you about this performance from Blake?
What I loved about Blake in this one is not a great first half, fouling a little bit, maybe shot selection not great, or not making his open threes, and then comes back in the second half, flushes it, and really kind of puts on a clinic on use of the ball screen and driving, and especially when we got into the bonus quick, a lot because of his drives, and we're a great free throw shooting team. But again, his mental toughness to hang in there and not let bad stretches ruin the whole night is mature beyond his years.
This win, you guys win by 16. You know, the score may be even a little misleading the way you played throughout the night. Even better than that, you get to 4-1 of the conference. To me, this felt like a validating win. You guys have been winning close against these teams. This had to really give you guys a sense of belief. What was your takeaway with this performance?
I think, again, to build confidence, Tony, you know, a group that kind of feels like they're finding themselves and feel like, you know, they can make a run. I mean, I've dropped the hint of regular season champion every now and then. I throw that out there, and it's more important to us, and they've really digested that.
Coach, thanks. When we come back, we'll have this week's edition of Irish Intel on Inside Notre Dame Men's Basketball, presented by TireRack.com. Welcome back to Inside Notre Dame Men's Basketball, presented by TireRack.com. It's now time for Irish Intel, where we go inside the play. Coach, of course, this is the big three from Blake Wesley. Less than a minute to give you guys the lead against Georgia Tech. Talk me through the action that leads to this three.
You know, we're kind of playing basketball here. We get into like a double ball screen set for Prentice to kind of distort the defense. And Prentice, being a senior point guard, is kind of probing, knowing now he probes and gets some people to bite. You know, he gets the defense to bite a little bit. Blake does a great job of adjusting up top. His man falls asleep just for a half step, but to rise up and want to take that right there, that is fearless. That's being an assassin. And I just love the fact that he wants to take that. Prentice does a great job not forcing it. We got Paul in the post too if we wanted. But the young guy said, I'm going to give us the lead.
All right, Coach, the score's tied here in overtime. 64 apiece, 2.5 minutes to go. This is a great example where Blake Wesley's going to set up Prentice Hub for the go-ahead three.
Well, and I think our team enjoys these situations. Like, we're addicted to game situations, and we love them. And they're a little hard on the coach, quite frankly, and the fans, but they love them. Great job in our offense here in our motion. Blake waits on the ball screen from Nate, and I don't think anyone in the league can get into the lane off of 2 feet as well as Blake Wesley. Gets in, 2 feet, look at the defense collapsing, look at the shooters with their hands set, and a big-time delivery. And this guy right there makes big shots, as we've seen throughout his career and this year. But it's nice, calm, and a great read by our young guy, drawing everybody. He got 5 guys on him. He got 5 guys on him, and he just finds people. That's why our old guys like playing with him. He gets some easy shots.
That was a great illustration of all the people around him. I do want to ask the one follow-up, because I think Georgia Tech wanted a foul on Dane Goodwin here as he came and set this screen. Take that out of the equation. How about just the IQ to come down and just be a nuisance to affect the closeout? To me, that's a little thing that doesn't show up in the box score, but it frees him up, right?
No question, Tony. And when we're on that two-man side, we call that the two-man side in spacing. Our spacing's really good here. We're in our motion. In the two-man side, we do want some interaction sometimes, an interchange. Prentice could come up and back screen for Dane, maybe a cut. But there is some kind of action here, and it helps. And, I think that guy sold it a little bit. I'm not sure that was a foul, but at least there was some movement there on something. But again, this guy, when he gets both feet on the ground and reads the D, and I think every corner shot Hub shoots is going in right now. And to his credit, he's learned to find him a little better.
All right, Coach, I want to go look at a baseline inbound set. This is when you guys are up 12-6 early in the first half. I always love your guys' baseline inbound sets. You guys get a lot of easy looks. Sometimes it's right off the catch. This one takes a little bit longer to develop, so talk me through it.
A little bit different look, but you're right, Tony. We've really been scoring on out of bounds under. Our efficiency is fabulous. Here we put Dane to take the ball in, and we're going to come back to him with a single double screen, and he does a great job of reading it out of this, because his man goes over the top. Watch number 13 try and shoot the gap and go over the top. Dane fades it to the corner, and the delivery by Blake Wesley is very important. Great delivery, great screen by Nate. Just reading and being efficient there on some single double action. It's just beautiful to watch.
Thanks, Coach. When we come back, we'll have this week's edition of Irishography on Inside Notre Dame Men's Basketball, presented by TireRack.com. So, Dane, you guys have won 6 in a row, 7 of your last 8. It's been a really great month for the team. From your standpoint, what's been the biggest key to the success so far?
Yeah, I think just playing together. We've really come together on both ends of the floor, defensively and offensively. I think last night was a great example of that. Really got off to a good start on the defensive end, and then carried carried it over to the offense, and I think spaced the ball, moved it well, and really played well together.
I want to ask you about your game in particular. You've raised your scoring output every single year you've been on campus, now up to about 15 points per game. You're playing really well, really efficient. Just what's been the key to your success to be able to get better every single year?
Yeah, I think just working at all aspects of my game. I came into this year with that mindset and really trying to address everything. I think I've worked with Coach Hump a little bit more this year, and I think that's really helped me establish a low post presence, and it's kind of gotten me off to good starts in games. I think last night that was an example of that too, and just finding my spots. Guys definitely helped me on the team and put me in the right spots, and I think taking advantage of that.
You guys have performed really well in late game clutch situations. And when I talk to Coach Brey, the thing that we always kind of marvel at is it's someone different every game. I mean, you can name almost all 7 rotation guys that have made a huge shot late in crunch time. So what's enabled you guys to be able to perform when the game is on the line?
Just that experience. I mean, I've been here 4 years now and have been in a few of those games, to say the least. But yeah, I think just building off of experiences we've had so far, and in the past we haven't really been able to pull a lot of those out, and I think we have a new level of confidence when it comes to being in those situations. And Coach always talks about it. We've been in so many of those game situations. We practice it on this court over here, and I think we're a lot more confident when those times come up, and know what to do and how to handle it.
I want to go back a few years now when you were making your decision to come to Notre Dame. If you can remember when you were a recruit, as you went through the process, what was it about Notre Dame that ultimately led to you coming here?
I think it was a big decision, obviously, but I think it was everything: the school, basketball program, people, and just my love for the university. I think Notre Dame's such a special place, and it holds so many people to a higher standard. And I think that's really how I looked at it. I knew I'd be getting a great education and be coming into a great basketball program as well. And I think over the course of the past 4 years, I've really gotten better and made a lot of new friends, met a lot of great people, and I think that's only going to get better.
You guys are in second place as of right now in the conference, but you're going on a big road stretch here. Just what's going to be the biggest key for you guys to keep the momentum going?
Yeah, stay positive, and we got to play our game. We really talked about that, especially after the BC game. We really got to play our game, and we know what we're capable of, and how we're going to do it. And I think over the past 6-7 games, whatever it's been, we've really done that and played together.
Thanks, Dane. When we come back, we'll look ahead at next week's games on this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Men's Basketball, presented by TireRack.com. It's time now to wrap up this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Men's Basketball, presented by TireRack.com. Coach, you guys now are going on the road for 3 in a row. You guys have played really well at home. You started to figure it out a little bit on the road as well. You got Virginia Tech coming up. What's going to be the key as you go into this road trip?
Well, with Virginia Tech, I thought it was the one team, we played them twice last year, that totally took our lunch money. They beat us up, they pushed us around, they treated us like the JV. And I will remind our group of that as we prepare for them. And then we've got to get up to D.C. for the Howard University game, which I think is a very powerful day and event for our university. So, it's a longer road trip, but we're playing better on the road.
I want to ask you a little bit more about that DC trip. As you mentioned, really important day for you guys to be in DC on Martin Luther King Day. It's just so unique. What are you most looking forward to on Martin Luther King Day?
I think the educational experience for our student athletes to be on an HBCU campus in the world we're living in right now and all the things that have happened, to be at Howard University, I think it's great for them. I think it's great for our university to be seen in that light on Fox National broadcast all afternoon on Monday. It's going to be very touching, I know, when we come out on the court on Monday.
I'm excited to get a chance to be there as well. Coach, that'll do it for this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Men's Basketball, presented by TireRack.com.